against Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. In total, 15 teams across the league are 2-2. Tom Brady was asked about that. He had an interesting answer. Listen.
I think there's a lot of bad football from what I watch. I watch a lot of bad football, a lot of, poor quality of football. That's what I see.
It's interesting to wonder whether he was sort of sending a message to his own team there. One way or another, DraftKings Sportsbook predictions are brought to you by DraftKings. And let's start with Brady. Brooke, he's going up against the Falcons. Will he have more or less than 1.5 touchdown passes on Sunday?
He's going to have more. I mean, look, first of all, I'm not going to pick against Tom Brady because he's going to laser beam me with his eyes. But this Falcons defense, as improved as it has looked in the last 2 weeks, they've still given up 7 passing touchdowns, including 3 to Matt Stafford. I think Brady rebounds, and I think that having some of his weapons back will help him do that.
Canty, the Bills will play the Steelers, more or less 272.5 passing yards for Josh Allen.
Greeny, I'm going less. Mike Tomlin is going to make that Bills offense play left-handed. He's going to come out in a lot of sub packages and dare the Buffalo Bills to run the football. If you go back to the Steelers' Week 1 win last year over the Bills in Buffalo, 79 snaps for that defense, 75 of them were in nickel and dime.
It's an interesting insight there. Again, they're a 14-point favorite. I like it. RC, let's go to the Eagles. More or less 45.5 rushing yards for Jalen Hurts.
I think it's more for Jalen Hurts. When you look at what this run game is built on having a quarterback who can get outside of the pocket and make plays. We watched him in the zone read. It's so difficult with Sanders and Gainwell and Boston Scott to figure out where the football is. And when we get Jalen Hurts outside on called runs or on improv and scrambles out of the pocket, he's been deadly to what he's been able to do to defenses.
A lot of people think that the Eagles belong on upset alert in this battle of the birds. Let's see if anybody here agrees. We put the picks up there. Oh, only me. I'm the only one on the Cardinals. You know what? All the money is, if you look at the way the gambling is going, the entire public is on Philly. The number feels a little high. Our analytics think this is a toss-up game right now in the desert. I've got the Eagles on upset alert. You think I'm crazy?
Yeah, I do think you're crazy because the Eagles started out slow last week. They were down in a 14-0 hole to the Jacksonville Jaguars and found a way to rally. And if you look at their previous 3 games, the Philadelphia Eagles have outscored their opponents 48-14 in the first half. I think they go on the road, they start with a little bit of urgency, and they get this thing done.
What does Jalen Hurts have to do to prove to you that he can beat the Cardinals? You got to juggle swords, swallow fire, and throw a touchdown pass at the same time. I mean, this is not. We've had them on that upset alert before, and they pulled it through.
I love Jalen Hurts, and I think they're terrific, but they're not going 17-0. So if you tried this a classic trap game, RC, they've got a Sunday night showdown with the Cowboys coming next week in Arizona, where the Cardinals, no one is paying any attention to what they're doing at all, but they're dangerous. What do you think? Am I crazy?
Well, I believe in normal situations or normal circumstances, this does set up like a trap game, but not necessarily for a team that's still trying to prove themselves. Even though outside of the building, we are all extremely high on the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts. This isn't a situation where Jalen Hurts has grabbed a hold of that position and that everybody feels no matter what, this is what you expect to see going forward. So he still has something to prove. This is a defense that's lost some players on the back end in last game. They're going to have to come out, rush well up front. And I think the thing that makes most sense about the Eagles winning this game, Chris mentioned how the Philadelphia Eagles start out games with the way they outscore opponents in the first half. The Arizona Cardinals actually start out slow. The Arizona Cardinals are a second-half team. The Philadelphia Eagles haven't had to be a second-half team because they've been blowing everyone out by the time they get to that point.
Let's see what Kyler Murray has for him. I just have a funny feeling, and my funny feelings generally are always wrong. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official.
The call, I got an issue with the execution, and you have an issue with the execution all night. Players win in critical football moments. Players win in situational football. When you're in the red zone and you throw a skinny and that's picked off by Gilly, you can't do that if you're Russell Wilson. If you have Hamler running wide open to your right and you're not going through your progression and you eventually lock in on Cortland Sutton and Gilly makes another play, that's on the quarterback. Nathaniel Hackett did what he was supposed to do. He put the football in the hands of his $256 million man. At some point, we got to realize we are now ordering Uber Eats. We are now waiting on Waiter. We are not letting Russ cook. If we're waiting for Russ to cook in Denver, we are going to starve.
Listen, I actually agree with everything you just said verbatim. But here's the bottom line. The conversation we were having, RC, that you were out front of, is Russell Wilson is not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Peyton Manning. But right now, he's not Cooper Rush. I mean, he's not. It's one thing for him not to be an all-time great. This is awful. What we are watching in Denver right now is awful. How much of it is the quarterback?
All of it's the quarterback. Listen, when you're an all-time great, like Aaron Rodgers is not going to move a place and all of a sudden not be a good quarterback. And Russell Wilson is still in the prime of his career. Russell Wilson is 33. Russell Wilson has only lived as long as Jesus did before he gave his life for our sins. And so Russell Wilson should be right now ascending, right? It's the way that we see quarterbacks play late into their careers. Tom Brady at 45. Aaron Rodgers about to be 40. These dudes got better at this point. And so you bring Russell Wilson in, and what did all y'all say all offseason? Oh, look at these weapons. We're going to plug him in, and it's going to be fire from the start. Well, it hasn't been, right? It's more like it's been a fire extinguisher adding Russell Wilson to this team. And so you think about the expectations of what this offense had and tie that in with the team knowing what they had defensively. This is an ultimate all-time failure to start a season with one of the best quarterbacks, or quote-unquote thought of best quarterbacks in their era. So when you think about, or when you go to whose failure is this, it solely lies on the shoulders of number 3 to me. This is a team you wanted to go to. This is a team you talked about like LeBron. It's not 1 or 2 championships. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You thought you were going on to the big 3 and taking your talents to South Beach. That is not what this has been. This has been North Dakota. This has been dry. This has been bland. This has been raisins and paprika on potato salad. This is not what you expected. And it seems that now that we've pinpointed it's not working, it's gotten worse. It hasn't stepped up there. They haven't gotten better. Russell hasn't called you know why you can't call a team-only meeting? You can't call a team-only meeting when you separate yourself from the team. You got to be one of the guys. You got to dig in. Russell Wilson is not one of the guys and not digging in Denver right now.
Chris Canty, that has been a question about him, his leadership, the way he is amongst teammates and other things, the Legion of Boom going back all the way to the beginning in Seattle. Do you see it the same way RC does right now?
Well, yeah, you can't eat everybody's potato salad, so I'm 1,000% with RC on that one. But here's what I'll say. Russell's got to be more aware, especially in the post-game press conference. I don't need to hear Broncos country, let's ride, after you took that kind of whooping in a primetime game. Chill out on that front. But where I will push back on is Russell Wilson all of a sudden becoming a terrible quarterback. If you look at the last 3 years prior to this season, Russell Wilson is 7th in QBR amongst all quarterbacks and 3rd to touchdown interception ratio. It ain't like Russell Wilson has forgotten how to play quarterback. I give him the benefit of the doubt based on his track record. Nathaniel Hackett, not so much. And when we come to the decision that we saw at the end of the fourth quarter with 2 minutes and 15 seconds left, you got a 3-point lead. Why are you throwing the football rather than running the ball, getting it to the 2-minute warning and kicking a field goal? Your defense ain't gave up a touchdown all night. To take a 6-point lead in the final 2 minutes of that game, that is gold. That is the opportunity to win the game. That's the call that Nathaniel Hackett should have made rather than going for it on 4th and 1 in overtime down 3.
We're going to have all morning long to continue on this game and all that. Let me get a final thought here, Brooke, from you. It's also a weird moment, and you heard it in that soundbite, when Nathaniel Hackett, the head coach of the football team, says, well, we got the go-ahead to go for it on 4th down, which suggests that someone is giving him the permission to do that. I mean, as long as the game has been played, that's been the head coach's decision. I understand that he brought in someone to help him in game management circumstances, but the decision on whether we're going to go for it on 4th down and kick a field goal there has to be the head coach's decision. As you watch this, how much of it to you feels like the coaching and how much feels like the quarterback?
I think this is on Russ. I mean, you paid him $250 million to not be this bad. Also, I wouldn't be a good pastor's daughter if I didn't point out to RC that Jesus didn't play football and he had like 2 extra playmakers. So I'm just going to point that out. That's why Jesus was in his prime and Russell is not. Okay. I think that this also, though, should broaden out to the conversation of, I know that my expertise is the Steelers here, so I'm going to speak from that perspective, but they didn't spend big money on a quarterback. And yes, they have their own set of problems. We're not going to cast stones. But this is why you don't go out and spend that money, because you could end up with a situation like this. I mean, they spent all this money for what? To get booed at your home stadium, to have fans counting down the play clock? I mean, this has just been an unmitigated disaster the whole way through.
All right, so let me leave that there for the moment. We're going to come back. You're going to hear more from Russell. We will have more coverage of this game, but it's a Football Friday. I want to get to a few others. Our next stop is L.A.